While some games you really have to pick up and play to get why they're good, others are just perfect at selling you with only 10 seconds of footage, and the Plucky Squire is definitely one of those games. As soon as you see Jot diving in and out of the pages of his book, the core concept of the game is immediately clear and you want to try it for yourself, and you'll be happy to hear that it mostly succeeds with that. But the Plucky Squire is an incredibly ambitious game, and it's not just about jumping in and out of the book, but you can also switch out words in the book to change what's happening on the pages and in the story. Also, the genre of the game is shifting constantly as well. On top of the switch between 2D Zelda style exploration in the book and the 3D platforming on the outside, you also have sections of the game that switch the gameplay to a 2D platformer, a Punch-Out clone, a Bubble Bobble clone, a Rhythm Heaven clone, hell even a Jetpack Joyride clone, and all of this in only about 8 hours. It'll always keep you guessing and it never gets boring. That's something I can't complain about. Usually I'd say, oh, it's trying too much so none of it's done well, but all of it's executed pretty successfully, with the gameplay styles that are used the most often being refined. The storybook has a good sense of humour, and even though the narrative isn't revolutionary, it's endearing. The Plucky Squire was critiqued for being so linear, and I see that. There is pretty much just one solution for every puzzle, but with how ambitious the game is, I don't really see a problem with that. The game doesn't hold your hand too much, so even though there is just one solution, that one solution isn't spoon-fed to you and you will have to work to get it. For me though, the main issue was that the core sword combat and the standard Zelda clone gameplay was incredibly basic, and to be honest, I think the game knew it too. Almost all of the gameplay shifts are for bosses, and I think that's because the developers knew the standard gameplay wasn't interesting enough to make these moments impactful, so they switched it up. But in standard hordes of enemies, especially near the end, the combat just feels like padding. Even so, that's a pretty minor problem in the grand scheme of everything the Plucky Squire is doing, and while I can understand not liking the game, a lot of complaints about it were just nitpicks about the game not being exactly what people hoped it would be. And on paper I get it, you have an idea of what a game will turn out to be and then it ends up not being that. It's easy to be disappointed, but that doesn't change the fact that the end result was fun, even if it might not have been everything you expected.